Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AI Minute Mondays, where I take a couple of minutes each Monday to demystify AI for everyone. Today, we are diving into a topic that's both urgent as well as complex: the cybersecurity risks posed by AI and how to mitigate them. Joining me on the show is Neha, who is a Vice President of Cybersecurity Products at JPMorgan Chase. She's also an ethical AI advocate and is someone who's been at the forefront of protecting the digital infrastructure from evolving threats. So, Neha, welcome to the show. So glad to have you here. Can you share a little bit about your journey?
For sure, for sure. As you've already mentioned, I am a vice president in JP Morgan, taking care of data protection and cryptographic controls. Right now, my new thing which is coming up into my radar is quantum computing. So I'm very much researching on that, learning myself, going back to school as in what is physics and maths around it to learn more and more, and then try to find out the PQC thing, like post-quantum cryptography and things like that. So that is very much keeping me busy. And it's good because a lot of times work becomes autonomous, like you're just learning same thing again and again with new research, new challenge comes in. It always seems like, okay, go back, study more, come back with the new research and then try to implement it. So that's what at JP Morgan. Before that, I've been into industry for a long period of time. It's almost 15 years. Been in different countries. I was in London, in US, in India, in Ireland for my works. My experience is more towards a lot of industry, but majorly on fintech, uh, Nvidia, Starbucks. That is what I have worked through consulting. Like most of the time, it was consulting. So in consulting, I think you have to be very much roll up your sleeve. You have to learn so fast, implement it, go back, try to see nothing has been gone wrong. But then in the fintech, it's a little bit reverse because you have to be slow. You can't fail. So when you can't fail, you have to learn all the controls. You have to try to find out more and more things. So with that, I had been working in many companies like Bank of America was my first one, Wells Fargo acquisition, which I have done for a firm, Flagstar, NYBC. So yeah, those are more of the banks where I work. And with banks, I came with intuitive patience. Why I'm saying that? Because right now at firm, I see all my engineers get very, very impatient when I have to stop them and say, apply more controls, follow these rules and things like that. And they're like, Neha, you're slowing me down. And I'm like, what should we do? Because we can't fail. So in that case, we have to be a little slow, try to follow all the compliance, everything, and then try to implement. And in age of AI, yes, it is becoming more of a topic of aggression every day because of the experience, because of the people who are coming from different tech companies and trying to implement the challenges we are trying to ask them. But at the same time, yes, you have to have more and more compliance and audits and everything we are trying to work on. So that's me more on the work wise. Apart from that, I also help startups and being mentor and UDA for the students who are coming out of the in the industry seems like there's so much challenge for them. So whenever I get some time, I try to go to the universities, try to give them more and more of knowledge, which they can use more on their career and navigations. And then on the other side, I also help startups because I feel like a lot of great ideas are flowing around in different areas. But then people want to make digital product as everything is digital today, but then they don't have much of an experience. So what I do, I try to understand their problems and give them more of an expertise and advisory that this is how you have to do. But then security is what I always have to let them know. Yes, you do this, but then add security to it. So
Yeah,
that's
thank you for sharing that. And yeah, totally resonate with your security first mindset for everything. I think that makes a lot of sense. So, saying that, let's dive a little bit more into our topic, which
sure.
is about cybersecurity in the age of AI. So, as we are seeing more and more enterprises today are going in for AI and they are trying to build AI into all of their enterprise solutions, whether it's a chatbot or it's agentic AI or any of those things.
Mhm.
So, in your experience, what have you seen as some of the biggest risks or concerns from the cybersecurity perspective with AI coming into the picture?
Okay. First of all, I have to tell all the companies, all the application we work for is like be cautious and
Mhm.
don't go into FOMO. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a FOMO at this point of time to implement AI in everything. Yes, I am getting amazed with AI every day.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, of course, I have some opinions, but those opinions are breaking in when we see the advancement in AI. And that's good. That's good. I mean, I see a speed. I see some of the things we are using it into the firm and outside. So it's good. But at the same time, don't implement AI into every pipeline you are implementing for an application. So just be cautious and try to see, can we do it in a traditional way? If not, then can we try to do it in a specific way where it could be hybrid model,
Mm-hmm.
partially the traditional way, partially the AI model. And if not, uh, then it's fine. Then try to implement it and add more and more security to it because of lots of concerns which we see today. Yes, AI boomed like anything. Like within, I will say 2 years, it's in speed of light through which they are
Mm-hmm.
growing, and you can't stop it. A lot of times, that's the word I have seen when Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, came in front of a conference and he said, "You know what? If you can't stop it, embrace it."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we are trying to do. If you can't stop it, okay, embrace it, but then add security. At this point of time, I feel like security is not a liability. It is very much a needed R. Why? Because technology came in, everybody's advocating for it, but then
Mm-hmm.
people are not understanding the risk it's coming with. With powerful technology, you also have high risk. Risk like every day, which we see is data exposure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just give an example. One of the application which we were working for, and we see that add internal assistant,
Mm-hmm.
more of an internal assistant, where in fintech and other firms, I felt like there are so many documents which are being placed, and it has lots of policy which you have to be aware of. But then searching itself take a day. So we thought of, okay, yeah, let's have an assistant which is internal and then not much of a risk, and people can find out the policy in the reports. But then what happened? There is a user, with God grace, he reported it, but then there's a user who tried to find a way through which he tweaks the prompt he was giving to the application, and through which he got exposure to forecast, fintech forecast. So
Mm-hmm.
with that financial forecast and the pricing which is coming with it, it was a high data risk, and that's what we call it, a data exposure. So there are many examples in the firm outside where I see data is being exposed, and in this world of digital, however we say, data is everything. So data exposure is the first thing which comes into my mind. And I work in data protection, so I get more and more use cases where we have to think of more and more cryptographic way to solve it. Um, Sorry to say, encryption itself became very outdated at this point of time. We have so many powerful technologies which we have to use in our regular day to save the data. So that's number one. What I see regularly nowadays is also an automation risk.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, whatever nowadays companies are working at, they are using more and more agentic AI to put more and more decisioning in every pipeline, which means that now AI is becoming more and more autonomous, where it can take the decision, it can manipulate systems at times, it can have the models which can be more autonomous by giving authority to other APIs to take a decision on their part. So with that, it is becoming more and more risk. A lot of examples which I've seen in payment industries,
Mm-hmm.
like you buy a product, you are just giving a signal or more of a message to your system, Alexa, buy a product for me. That's a very simple statement, but what it does behind the scene is like it is taking all of your access and permission. First of all, to go to Amazon, log into Amazon on any platform you are trying to buy in, breach there because you have already given that. And if something happens, there could be a breach. Second
Mm-hmm.
thing, it has all of your information, which will be used once they make a decision on your behalf to buy, let's say, a pair of shoes. After that, they are doing the payment. Now that becomes more risky. You are giving an agent all the information, which is very critical to make those payments for you. In a
Mm-hmm.
way, I feel like we are becoming more and more lazy. This
Uh-huh.
thing we can do by ourselves. And there where I say plug in hybrid way. Yes, give a little bit autonomous to it to say, make a decisioning for me for a pair of shoes when I have this filter. But then
Mm-hmm.
for a payment, which is just one click or two click, make it
Mm-hmm.
by yourself. Don't
Mm-hmm.
allow an agent to do it on your behalf. So
Mm-hmm.
that is what is what I'm seeing in the automations and the risk like there. And the third one is one of the most, I will say, exploited and most being used everywhere is more towards the model manipulations, right? We
Okay.
talk about jailbreaking, we talk
Mm,
about prompt injections and things like that. That's becoming very, very common.
mhm, mm,
Recently, I posted more on fraud as a service, and that is because this is Cybersecurity Week in
mhm,
my firm, and we were talking more and more about it. And I'm like, this is the new part because deepfakes is now everybody know about it. When
mm,
it was invented, nobody thought that it will take all over the world for the crimes because it was actually made for an animation industry
mhm,
just for the Hollywood actors when they take too much money for an animation movies. They thought, okay, we can use things like that to do a deepfake, and but then what it did, it went to the hands of a bad actors, and now 95% of crimes which you see where you have done some financial transactions and things like that happens through deepfakes.
mhm,
Long back, I've seen an example where a CFO called to their financial team to make millions of transaction for acquiring a company, and later on they found out it was a deep fake and they lost the
mhm,
money. There is no way you can recover those money. So things like that is happening more often, and the risky part there is more about the new things which are coming up is like fraud on demand. It's very much fraud on demand. So now you don't have to be technical enough. You don't have to be a hacker. If you
mm,
have a credit card and you have a little bit of curiosity to
mm,
say that I want to do an enterprise grade crime, you can literally hire people for you. Or if you
mm,
don't want to hire people, you can have tools. Actually, tools are all circulated in dark web, which you
mm,
can buy and do it by yourself. So it's like
mhm,
you are cutting down the cost which requires to do a crime at this point of time,
mm, mhm,
right?
mm.
And with,
Yeah.
sorry to say, with the help of AI now at this
Mm,
point,
mhm,
because earlier, the attacks we were seeing were very sophisticated attack. Definitely, we feel like there is a genius sitting on the other side
mhm,
who's
mhm,
trying to, most of the time, you see a psychological test when these bad actors do the thing is also
mhm,
to prove themselves. More
mhm,
than money, they are more towards, yes, we chose a path of destruction, but then we have to prove ourselves to say
mm,
we have
mm,
done something which you can't do it. So it was more of a main brain game.
uh-huh,
Now it's like, yes, I could be clueless. If I want to
mm,
take a revenge from you and things
mhm.
like that, I can go to dark web, buy the things, and do it by myself. So the
Wow.
cost is coming down and it is becoming more and more risky
Mm,
because now we are fighting towards like being in, I feel like we are in cyber defense, right? A lot of times the patterns we are seeing, the levels we are seeing is new because it get into their hands. There's something called we use chat GPT for everything, and there is a warm GPT where
mm,
all those guardrails has been removed and people can just use it to
mm,
do
mm,
different levels of crime. So
mhm, mm,
with that, I feel like it's very, very risky. The way we are just expediting the use of AI, I'm not asking people to stop it,
mm, mm,
definitely, but be slow.
mm,
Try to add more and more controls,
mm,
have few human in the loop in everything so that you do understand that if there is a risk, days gone we were talking about ROI. Now
mm,
on the table we talk about ROM, which is
mm,
return on mitigation, because
mm,
now we know there is
mm.
no way we can stop this thing. So if there is a thing, how can we mitigate those things in fraction of seconds?
Yes.
So I think that is the world we are
Yeah.
approaching.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that is super interesting. And also, it's very thought provoking and something that all of our viewers need to kind of keep in mind because we are so focused on AI, so focused on the amazing things that it can do. But we also need to think through what's the data that it's exposing? What are the concerns? I mean, the fraud on demand, the fraud as a service. Okay, these are the important things to look at. So definitely, thanks for sharing those. So now let's pivot to the solutions. We've seen all of the things that can happen. Now, can you share with us, in your opinion, what are the top things that organizations can do to
Mhm.
mitigate this risk? And
Yeah.
what does a security first AI deployment actually look like in practice?
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of times I use terminology for everybody who is hearing. need
Mm,
not to be very much expert in cybersecurity or anything, but they should understand with a very normal anomaly, like more of metaphors through which you will understand that deploying AI security is very much like building a house. It's very
mhm,
much like that, where you don't start decorating the house when you don't
mm,
have the foundation even deployed, right? So it's
mm,
very much like you keep on pushing AI into every decisioning, every manipulation, everything which you are doing in the firm to make a right decisioning. But then
mm,
you are doing it very fast, where your foundation and roots are not strong enough. So there
mhm,
where I try to say that, make sure the foundation and locks are all solid. When
mm,
it's all solid, all tested out, then try to have more and more systems integrated with it, more and more features added to it to do the business you want to do with the use of AI. Saying that, we are seeing that trend that companies are rushing into AI without
mhm,
having any controls. Even if you come with some financial, or I will say some domains which are more towards the security prone, like more health sciences, fintech,
mhm,
they do think about it. But then
mm,
there are many firms which are more on retail, right? They don't care much, is in my opinion. I've seen those things where they're like, okay, yeah, security, that's the last thing we'll talk about. Uh, Wrong thing. They're making million and billion dollars just with the shopping and the different things they are doing it. And they are exposing lots and lots of vulnerabilities into a lot of integrated systems. So a lot of times attacks which we see is not in directly to us. It
mm,
happens through a supply chain. It happens
mhm,
because somewhere they found a weak link through
mm,
which they penetrate into the systems, and then they
mhm,
try to do the things. Like some of the things we were seeing, that having like babies having a camera in their room just to monitor what they're doing is becoming more and more of a norm. And there is a security breach which we have seen, where a hacker sat into a system, try to find out the vulnerabilities on those systems through AI, and get into the camera, and with
mm,
that he can monitor everything. He is
mm,
listening what people are saying, what they are doing. Probably a person is giving order to Alexa to do the transaction, through which he get into the Wi-Fi of it and things like that. So it's becoming very scary, and it's like
mhm,
people have to understand that it's not the hackers will go to the strongest system and try to attack. No, time's gone. They go to the weakest link, and then
mm,
because it's all integrated,
mm,
now it's easier for them to go
mm,
at the end and try to fetch the data.
mm,
So data exposure, like I said, it's a risk, and that's what we should definitely control. We should definitely think about more and more control objectives and control procedures, as
agree.
in that should be number one thing. You have to understand, first of all, uh, three W's, which I mentioned to everyone: what, where, who, which
Mhm,
means that what's flowing in your model, you have to understand where it comes from and who
mm,
has access to it. When you
mhm,
have all three things noted it down, you can add into more of your controls, and it should be a right control. It shouldn't be that, yeah, it's on paper and it's done. No,
mm,
time's gone when you just put into the paper and things will go off. You have to have a regular audit to it, that this is all regular. We know whom we are getting access to, how many controls we can put into the access management so that right people can get the access. And a lot of times you don't even need people to get into production at times, until unless it's like very much mandatory. There are many alternatives through which you can have things done. So that is very much needed, where you can definitely find out that what is the data we are exposing. Like many and many days, we have seen that there are more and more trend of chatbots. And with chatbots, you can again tweak them to find out what are the information people can get from. So that's more of, we have seen a trend that we train our chatbots with a lot utmost data. And with that, a lot of times unintentionally, they get the data which they don't have to. And one of the experience was in HR data. So we were training chatbots on answering some of the questions which employees have and things like that, and through which they see that the HR data got exposed, and they learned more about the things which they shouldn't do. Again, through testing, we catched it, but then if it was in production, it could lead to lots and lots of problems. So that's number one, that you have to think about data and try to put more and more controls there. Second thing is, like I said, automation. For automation, you have to understand, do I have to automate everything? Or there could be hybrid model where I can think of half of the things can be done, half of the things not needed to be autonomous. We can definitely have human in the loop for the
Mm-hmm.
oversight
Mm-hmm.
for every right decision which your system is taking on your behalf. You can have definitely a human in the loop to find out that is it the right thing to do? Is it not right the thing? So that they have more controls where things got penetrated through or more like passed through to find out if it was the right decisioning at this point of time or the data got manipulated or the models got manipulated and that's why they were seeing those behavior. If you'll make them and I've seen that multi-agentic models and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, good on papers again, but then do you have all the guardrails in the
Mm-hmm.
systems when you are selling those things and not outside? Many companies are selling those solutions and they are pushing it very hard that, yeah, your life will be easy and things like that. We do understand, but then we have to go and do the same thing to say that we wanted AI to come into our world to do the things we don't want and then do the intelligent stuff which we wanted to do. But nowadays, there is a shift again because AI is taking over to take all the right decisioning for you. And what you are doing is literally the monotonous work which you didn't want it to do. So it's more of a rethinking. In fact, Sam Altman himself said that people ask him in an interview that what keeps you, not sleeping in the night and things like that. And he said the same thing that he is very scared the way we are growing the power of AI, if it get into the bad hands of bad actors, it can exploit the world. And sorry, it's just happening. It's not futuristic anymore. It is just happening at this point of time. And the third thing which we were talking about is more on the injection, prompt engineering, and things like that. So there, I will say, and I've seen again, these are the trends because I've been into the firm for long. I've seen that people do focus on black box testing. They do
Mm-hmm.
focus on integration testing and how the things are done. But then when it comes to security testing, they are the last team who thinks about, oh, security testing, who cares? I am just writing this module. But then now you have to think about it. You have to definitely think about it. The traditional way which we were doing the testing is good. And after that, there is more of a red team coming into the force. There should be definitely a threat modeling and penetration testing to all the application you're exposing to the world. And if it has AI, or in fact, a lot of times if it doesn't have AI, still you should do it. It should be to do for you to say that, you know what, security testing has to be the part of an application. Why? A lot of times, if you yourself don't have AI into your things, but still, you will definitely integrate to a lot of systems which will have. How can you stop? How the penetration can be found out so that you can think like the criminals, find out all the flaws, and then try the teams to put a patch on it or try to fix it. These kind of things are very, very much needed in the world of, I will say, jailbreaking and prompt injections and things like that. You have to stop those injections, and you can't if you don't think like an attacker. So I encourage more and more teams like Red Team to be in the game in most of the things. If application teams are not reaching out to them, you as a red team will try to monitor how many applications are there in the firm and try and find out what is being already done, what is not being done. So these are the things which definitely company can try to have those strategized because
Uh-huh.
that's very much needed. Make a strategy of it, try to find out how much is needed. So when you think of a cost of AI, you also have to think about the security.
Yeah.
Ethical AI is, of course, it's not there as a guidelines in the firm. I've been into one of the tech policy forums too
Mm-hmm.
there, there were people from federal governments and other stuff. We were talking about it, that it's just growing so fast that we don't have much expertise to think about it, which is right. So in that case, companies who are trying to plug in AI, the responsibility lies in their hands. At least they can have more and more semantics, more and more controls, which they can think of, and then make
Okay.
it more of a necessity then always I hear it's a liability. No, it's not liability anymore. It's very much a necessity. It's essential.
Thank you. Thank you, Neha, for sharing that information. That's super helpful in terms of what are the key steps that most organizations can take. So, like we've just talked about, AI is not just a tool, it's basically a force multiplier. And not to quote the Spider Man movie, but with great power comes great responsibility. So, everyone who's building systems, all of our viewers building systems with AI, keep in mind these top tips shared by Neha for implementing security and keeping a security first mindset with all of your AI based developments. So, like you explained, it's not just about firewalls and passwords. It's about foresight. It's about planning. It's about extensive testing, and mainly it's about keeping the human in the loop.
For sure.
So yeah. So thanks for tuning into AI Minutes. And if this sparked any questions or concerns among all of the viewers, feel free to add those in the comments and definitely repost this within your network. I think this is of great value to everyone, especially in the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is this month. So thanks, Neha, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Suchi.
Thanks.